Good morning. It's Malaki here again. Really enjoying these social catch-ups. I'm a pretty social person in nature, so it's been really good to chat one-on-one with just my professional network. And I've got a guest, Matt Hudson, joining me this morning, which I'm really keen to just banter about some of his passions and interests, but also the business side and how they've been pivoting in this economic shutdown here in Brisbane. But welcome, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's really good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
No drama. Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as you are as well. So I really enjoyed a lot of your content that I saw coming through my feed. So I guess it was just a natural invite. And I'm a big champion of other people trying to be proactive around using social media. So yeah, keep it up wherever you can. And I'd love to be a guest, not that you've invited me yet, but if you get approved on LinkedIn Live, that would be great to answer again.
Yeah, well, I put my application in. Hopefully, I'm able to do it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then we can sort of get some people on and talk about their own world and how we can help others. That's really my process on LinkedIn, is to try to give out as much free information as I can to people.
Yep.
Trying to summarize as many cases as possible relating to my profession, so insolvency and restructuring, and to teach people and put myself in front of them.
100%.
That's a lot of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Yep. And I love what you said about free content. And just before we started recording, you did mention that you have been pretty successful with LinkedIn in terms of obviously creating free content, but just building relationships. Even though it's a virtual platform, like, it doesn't mean you can't build that professional relationship. So it's definitely a tool that could be used.
Oh, it's been amazing. Yeah. Just and also for your own personal profile, when you're a professional, especially a lawyer or accountant or something like that, a lot of the time you're just doing marketing for the firm. For me, I trying to use my LinkedIn to create a bit of a personal brand, and give as much free information as possible, announce things, find mistakes in legislation, and try to give it to as many of my followers as possible. And it's been a 2 and a bit year journey for me. Like, I think I started in December 2018. And I had about 400 followers, barely wrote. I think I maybe wrote once every couple of months on just something I was interested in, didn't really get too involved. And then now I post probably 4 to 7 times a week on various content. And my follower base is now about 14,000.
Wow.
And it's been awesome. And I've been getting some pretty decent work out of it as well.
100%. Yeah. Just on the, in terms of the posting content, how important, or not so much how important, but what was the change for you, I guess? Like you were saying, when you first joined, it was maybe 3 or 4 times a month, I think you said, whereas now it's 6 or 7, 8 times a week. Like, was there a specific, there was a change, and what really motivated you then allowed you to continue to be consistent with your posts?
I think originally I was a little bit shy about it. Didn't want to give too much away. I was a bit concerned that if I wrote something, I could be wrong. And I think it was all about confidence for me. Finding some confidence and finding interesting topics to write about is also a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
It's not like, my job is to just do social media. I'm a professional accountant, lawyer that needs to do obviously set billable hours a day. So it can be a little bit tough finding content. But so what I've done is I've subscribed to just about every single newsletter, case updater, news amalgamator that there is. And I just get fed so much information every day. And so I just find some moment during the day, and I've just become very good at skim reading. And then I just choose a topic and write about it. And I've tried to do it within something where someone could read the content within 2 or 3 minutes. So I could my aim is to try to summarize, say, 100-page case into something that would take you probably 10, 15 seconds to understand, and then probably 30 seconds to a minute to read it properly, And that's what I'm trying to do. And there's some other fantastic people on LinkedIn that are doing the same thing now. And big shout out to them because they make it a bit of a community for us. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So good. I love what you're saying about initially it was maybe a bit of confidence or you didn't really know what to talk about given, you know, your profession. But I mean, anyone who's watching this, like I'm sure I could speak for you as well, just encourage anyone, like just start. Like I think part of the creativity comes once you start putting stuff out there. And back on what you're saying, the literally 15-second, 30-second like summary, like even for me, right? I'm not like an accountant or a lawyer. But I read through your posts and that's how I get updated as well, a little bit on like the state of affairs with businesses and particularly, you know, the industry that you're in. So man, it's really been a good source of information for me, I guess. So
well, it's such a different way to write. Like when you're at your law school, you're taught to write these massive long journals and stuff. And I've been doing this for a bit over about 8.5 years now. And through most of that time, all my articles were probably, you know, extremely complicated and would go on for thousands and thousands of words. No one reads them. Sometimes those types of articles are very important for our industry in that. But for me, I had to relearn how to write to be able to fit into LinkedIn's requirements. And I think it's made me a better writer and a better producer of work. Trying to get something really complicated into 1,300 characters. And don't forget on LinkedIn, a character includes a full stop. Like why? But it does. So, you know, even a full stop can get you over their character count. So it can be a bit tough sometimes.
Yeah. And the other thing I was just going to say too, based off what you're saying was, and we were actually chatting about this briefly before we started recording, was you enjoy the written word, like obviously, like you were just saying. So I think it makes it a bit more enjoyable in terms of, you know, wanting to produce content and something that you're interested in. It's something that you like. And so one of my big beliefs is doing something that's authentic. So if written word's authentic to you or it's more organic, do that, or video or stories or different platforms like obviously TikTok or YouTube and all that sort of stuff. Whatever works, I think just to start is probably a good key.
Yeah, mate, I fully agree. Like for me, if I can give a good example, I felt a little bit obliged to write about Virgin when the collapse occurred, because I do use my thing as a bit of a breaking news. So I don't particularly enjoy those types of articles, and I probably spent about a minute or two quickly writing it. But what did pique my interest out of that administration was the concept of the velocity frequent flyer points. What happens to those in the event, you know, Virgin goes under? Are your points safe? So that night I ended up going and researching, spent quite a bit of my own money actually getting searches off ASIC, and pieced it together and then put out an article through LinkedIn or a post through LinkedIn to explain to people, I think based on publicly available information through ASIC, your velocity points appear pretty safe. So yeah, my post went out, and that type of stuff I enjoy. It's like almost like investigative journalism in a sense. And I like that type of stuff. That gets me wanting to write more on LinkedIn.
No, I love that. No, that's good. So I guess just changing gears a little bit and dovetailing off the back of what we're talking about, with regards to the economic shutdown, I guess if you can call that for us in Australia, like, there's countries that are doing it far worse, but still want to be sensitive, obviously, to a lot of people and businesses that are doing it tough here in Brizzy in Australia. But, your own personal situation, working from home, sounds like that's changed a little bit. What's like one thing that's surprised you, I guess, in your sort of daily routine now that you're working from home?
Yeah, well, probably two main things. One from a personal point of view, my fiance and I are working from home full time. Just the number of hours you get back, honestly, it's amazing. We were spending over 2 hours a day traveling and commute to get into the city. Now we're able to take our two beagles for a walk, spend time with them. But I think it also sort of makes you work a little bit longer as well. I'm finding that we're sort of getting into a slightly bad habit of wanting to work and that, because it's so much easier here at this setup. But I think it's been better for my health at the moment, not being in the city all the time. And, quite a big part of my work. So obviously I work on the tools, but also I am a BDM for my firm. And, I've got to go out with clients and prospective clients, take them drinking, and spend time with them and entertain them and stuff, I don't have to do that as much at the moment. So it's a very different world for me from that perspective. But I think the other second point I was going to say is that from our firm's point of view, and a lot of other liquidators, like if you think about a liquidator is very conservative by nature there. I would say some of them are technophobes, and we're very untrusting of the whole process. What we were proposing in terms of us working from home, we use Microsoft Teams for ours, but putting those types of processes in place, the trust level was so low from the start, and now it's amazing where we are. Like I'm finding that a lot of the liquidators in our firm and in other firms are a lot more open to it. And it's only been a month, but I think it's starting to prove to them that, having the big office space in the city may not necessarily be necessary. Maybe you don't need it. I think you do need it to an extent. Like you need to be in the city for our type of stuff, but that may only need to be 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I think there needs to be a lot more conversation about that, and a bit of debate would be nice. But, I also though don't want to put people out of work from a commercial rent perspective and all that,
100%.
But because I'm very worried about that, that industry to an extent. So they I think need to pivot a bit and think about it themselves, what they're going to do.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I like what you're saying about obviously pivoting, like, so your particular business, but I mean, I guess that's an opportunity for all industries, right? It may be that from a financial point of view, it's less beneficial, but there are efficiencies, I guess, like, the example that you use. So like you said, I think it's going to force some conversations, or at least have an open arena or have opportunities to talk about some of these things. And yeah, it might just force people's hands and stuff like that. So many positives to come from it, I think. And I mean,
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think from a professional's point of view, I think it's going to change things a little bit. Obviously, when you're an insolvency practitioner, you will get appointed to jobs where you've actually got to go out to site. So even during this pandemic, we have been going out to sites, liquidating assets and stuff. So there is an element of risk there for us. So we have been very careful and taking precautions. So I'm not just locked in this office all day, or in my home office all day. We are out actually doing stuff quite regularly. But I'm enjoying it, to be honest. I'm just getting a lot more done. It's great. And to be fair, like I haven't necessarily needed to be in the city to do client referral stuff. Like last night, I hosted a 20-person Microsoft Teams chat. So 20 clients came on and we just talked. Most people would say that would just be a mess, but we put a little bit of structure in there, played a couple of games as part of it, and I thought it went pretty well.
Nice. Yeah, 100%. So many good things to come from it. Part of the reason, changing gears a little bit again, I guess, part of the reason why I wanted to chat to you too is, your background. And I mean, I'm not a finance expert or any of that sort of stuff. I don't have a background in accounting. So I'm only just looking at stuff and doing my own research, but it's good to talk to a professional, like, in terms of, looking at some of the data. And from our notes, it looks like, either you personally or maybe the company that you're with you guys have done a commercial risk outlook report. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that and, what the findings were from that?
Yeah, so we do a regular, it used to be every 6 months. It's called a commercial risk outlook report. So every 6 months we used to publish. Now we're doing it once a year in March. What it does is it takes data that only, I think, a handful of organizations in the country are able to get access to, and it produces a probability risk score type thing that risk scores each industry in each postcode, so to speak. So what that means is that in a particular postcode, I can pretty well tell you on a probability scale what is the most riskiest industries in that postcode. And if you can break the data down enough, you could potentially, we're not doing it, but you could in theory, if you could get the data down enough, you could work out some of the players that are most at risk. So I'd highly encourage anybody to go and check out the SV Partners website. Look up, it'll be up on the top banner. I checked it this morning, and it's just called the Commercial Risk Outlook Report for March 2020, and it has heaps of fantastic information there. Our marketing team does an incredible job putting that together every year. Yeah. And it basically gets pushed to all the different newspapers and that, and it gets a really good run. What I would say about the data is that it's because it's been produced in March, it's only collecting data up until about, I think, December, so last year. So it won't take into account COVID as yet. But I think there is talks about reassessing that, but you can't get the data out fast enough at the moment. Even the Australian Bureau of Statistics aren't even putting it out fast enough. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next couple months.
Yep, 100%. And when are you guys looking at releasing another report such as that, or revving it up with new data?
I would like for it to happen again this year, yep. But like the last couple of years, we've only been doing them in March, just because if you do it too often, it sort of loses its appeal to people. But I think in this environment, I think there'll be an argument to say that it should come out again this year. But it's very useful if you can, look through the facts and identify your own postcode and see what's most at risk, because it's a really good resource.
Yeah. No, that's cool, mate. And I guess as another thing that you're doing, which looks like is a benefit to small business owners, is the free business health check.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just talk a little bit about how that came about, what the intention is and how people can either reach out directly or benefit from that.
Yeah, so Kyle McMillan from Curry Scott and Associate Lawyers, Nick Hill from Walker Hill Chartered Accountants, and I, we're all sort of part of a little bit of a networking group called Networkers Referral Group. We came together on one of the days. We've all been good mates for a little bit now, and we said, how can we help? We can't be on the front line, medicine and all that, but that's not our world. But we thought, let's see how we can try to help people. What can we do? And we came up with this free business health check. So if you go hashtag free business health check, anywhere on Facebook, there's a page dedicated to it. We put out content semi-regularly. We are working on quite a lot more at the moment, and free guides and free material for everyone. But really, it is just pro bono or Latin for free accounting. So, free accounting, free legal, just trying to help people, help businesses, I should say. We are just focusing on businesses here. We can't help, unfortunately, people who have lost their jobs and that. There are people that are better qualified at that type of stuff than us. But what we are there to do is try to help businesses as much as possible, to understand stimulus packages, understand what to do about restructuring their affairs. The fact that although the government came out and said that no one can be sued for insolvent trading until September, so if you're a director of a company and you trade your company, whilst it might be insolvent, you can't pay its debts when it's due. Government said you can't be sued for that. But there are so many other directors' duties and other things that you need to consider before you just accept that. So, we can look at your situation and give you the best advice possible across one of the three of us. And we've got so many other people in our contact pool that we can reach out to, finance brokers, construction experts, HR, all those people are more than happy to try to help out as best they can. And for free if they can. Obviously, not everything can be free, but we're trying our best to give back, and I think it's been awesome. We've been able to help quite a few cafe owners now.
Oh, wow.
Which has been really rewarding.
Yep.
Trying to help, especially one in particular who had a bit of trouble with his landlord, and what we have liked is with the federal government coming out with its commercial code of conduct for leases, that has helped us a bit with that negotiation with the landlord. Because before that, the landlord was like, "No, you guys just got to pay, or your client's got to pay," and we were like, "Well, they can't even operate. Government said they're not allowed to operate. What are they meant to do?" So that's been really rewarding, and we've been working on plenty of SMEs. That's more of when we're doing this free business health check, just focusing on SMEs.
SMEs, yep. So that's good to give some examples. Any cafe owners watching, or if you know of any, because it could be a bit overwhelming too. Like obviously people are trying to do their best, but just getting secondary advice or any SMEs, that's really good. I like it how you've targeted that specifically. So that's really good.
Yeah, any SMEs looking for that stimulus package. We've spent a lot of time understanding the stimulus package. It's not my world necessarily to do that, but I wanted to get ahead of it so I could give as much as I could to this project. But Nick Hill is the expert on it. He's a managing director of his own firm. He's a young guy doing very well in accounting. So he's the expert. We're sort of leveraging a little bit off him on that. But together, all three of us have spent a lot of time reading and researching. So, it's been good to help people and understand the situation and see how else we can help.
I love that. Yeah, it is a very interesting era, I guess, that we're in, and I guess working from home, aside from obviously the personal professional benefits, you're a bit of a gamer as well. So has it been a bit of a struggle to try and I really need to do work, but I really want to get on the game?
Well, it has been I was a bit worried about that at the start, to be honest, that I might get a bit I've always been terrible at working from home before this. And I had to set myself some really strict rules to stop me from jumping onto I got an Xbox and PlayStation, just jumping on one of them and start playing. I'm even sitting in my gaming chair right now. I really enjoy it. I've been doing it my whole life. My parents always hated it, but they've learned to love it. Same with my fiance. She doesn't really like it too much when I'm on it, but it gives me a chance to relax. Switch your brain off.
100%, mate. And oh man, this conversation could go so many places. Part of the reason why I want to create content, not only to learn a new skill through the self-isolation period, but one of the things I follow Gary Vaynerchuk quite a bit, and so he talks about whether it's true or not, but I kind of feel it strongly as well, is people will demonize or all of a sudden just have a negative view on technology or particular things that haven't worked in the past. So for example, gaming or social media platforms like TikTok, there's particular things that people will just say about it and they don't understand it. And so I like what you're saying about, obviously your parents and your fiance, maybe they weren't sort of super on board with it in the beginning, but I can totally relate, right? And the reason why I'm sort of going down this path is, me and my wife, part of our goal is when our kids come, if they love gaming, don't just restrict it because we don't understand it. And we think that, when I was a kid, gaming was bad, or when I'm an adult, right? So it's a very interesting conversation. So you were just touching lightly on some of those really big pressure points for me, but I'm very empathetic to those type of things, right? Because I might have kids that love gaming, and so they might make that a career. You know what I mean? So it's a very
it's a lot of fun, and it can teach you some pretty amazing skills, to be honest. I could talk about that actually for a while because I've had to defend this conversation many times.
Yeah, let's go.
One thing I would say is that you just have to be careful that they don't become overly addicted. We actually got appointed. I'll just be a little bit careful with this conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
We were appointed to a bankrupt who had who was earning significant sums of money every year. He was a professional in his own right. We're talking, monster salary. And he went bankrupt because he was addicted to a game, microtransactions. So, he would get on his phone or any apps or whatever, and he'd have this particular game he loved, and he'd get on and he'd just spend money to be the best of the game. I think the word, the acronym that's used is whale. There's in the gaming landscape, the acronym is whale, which is all about someone who spends a lot of money to be the best at a game. And I would say that was probably him. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Well, not a year, sorry. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over the space of a couple of years. So we're currently investigating that, trying to work out if there's any recourse against the store, but not sure. I'm still thinking that one through. But yeah, it's so that I think is the dark side of it. You just, when you've got kids and that, making sure that there's none of that microtransactions. Outside of that, like you learn how to be part of a community. Some of those games you actually can create some of your best friends through it, and your motor skills. I know that's going to sound weird, but your reaction time. I always said that. So take for example COD, Call of Duty. So I've always said that people are terrible at COD if you don't play it enough, and the reason for that is like tennis. If you don't play tennis enough, your eye is not in the ball. You don't get the feel for it. It's the same with cricket. I absolutely love cricket, and until you're there day in day out playing, you're not going to be very good at it. COD is the same. You need to get your eye in. So it increases your skills in that type of way. But yeah, no, I'm always a big fan. I'll always keep watching to see if there's anything else coming out. But it's been a bit dry lately, so. Not
Are
really
you a part of any leagues right now? Like I know there's an official COD league, like a Premier World COD league or something, but is there any like secret crews that you're a part of that's like earning you a side income right now?
No, I don't play enough anymore. I used to play combat arms a lot. We one of my best mates and I used to play that all the time, and we were in plenty of leagues, but no, it's too hard nowadays, too busy. But anyone listening, I definitely recommend jumping on and having a game or two.
No, thanks for sharing that example, that real life example though. That's actually changed my perspective a little bit, like getting a real life example of the downsides of that. So no, that's really good. I appreciate you sharing that.
And there's no recourse that I can think of at the moment, because the only time that a microtransaction is unlawful there's two times. One is if the person is under a specific consent age, and so that might be 18. I think 18 is the consent age in Australia for a microtransaction. Or two, if the microtransaction involves gambling. So if there is not luck, so obviously a microtransaction has some form of luck in it. It's more than luck. It's got to be like a chance to win something that is money in your back pocket type thing, So if there's that and you're overspending, then there's definitely a clawback. But I think it's a bit grey at the moment about someone who spends hundreds of thousands of dollars in the space of a year or two. There's no real law on that. And I know there's been plenty of Senate inquiries on it. No one's really come up with an answer. So it's something that I'm quite interested in writing about. But yeah, I'm still thinking that one through.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's, oh man, so interesting. There's a lot more to be said on that, I guess.
We could just talk about that for the rest of the day.
Oh, mate, so easy, honestly. The other thing I'm big on, actually, and I didn't actually put these in the questions, so the other thing I'm big on is TikTok.
Okay, yeah.
Have you on account?
My fiance, yeah, no, my fiance's been doing a lot of it. She's been trying to get me on it for the last few weeks, but the dogs are featuring heavily.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm generally camera shy, so I'm gonna think about it from the perspective of seeing how I can put some insolvency stuff out there on it, but. They're meant to just be 10-second snapshots, so I don't know yet how to do it.
100%. I mean, oh man, so many businesses that I've seen right now are just going all in on it. Now, there's probably some front runners that have probably been on the platform for about a year. Obviously, it's where you could argue the most attention is. I use TikTok more than anything else right now. My wife got on it because she's a teacher and all of her students are on it, and literally within a couple of months, because she was posting regularly and she understood like the dynamic of what was going on, it opened up a new world for her. Like she could communicate just on their level with their students, right? And so from that point of view, I was like, oh, I'm just going to get on, just to check it out. And it actually ended up being a bit of an exercise thing in self-isolation, because you do some of those dance routines like for 20 minutes and I'm just like sweating heaps. So that was pretty cool. But I'm just curious, hey, and I'm going pretty hard on it, trying to post on there like 3 or 4 times a day. But mate, I'll send you some examples too of some very savvy, like if it's not just businesses, but influencers that have really made it a niche for them in a quick time. Yeah. So I would just encourage you, man. Yeah, even if you just get on it and understand what it is, you can't lose.
Yeah, please do. I am a little bit skeptical on it before she was on it. And, I have seen plenty of her videos going up. But I'll certainly check it out. It's just hard to think of how you would try to sell insolvency and all that type of stuff through it. It's something
you'll be surprised. There's this orthodontist that I follow. He's probably been on for a couple of years now, but just very savvy. Like, who would have thought an orthodontist was on there? But very smart. You can see the way that he's done it. There's heaps of doctors on there. A lot of the allied health services are on there, from what I've seen. But there's real estate agents there. You might be able to create or carve that niche for yourself. So, I'm looking forward to getting on that.
I'll have a chat to you after this.
No, that's cool, man. Hey, I really enjoyed our time together, man. Thanks so much. It's good just to check in with people. Obviously within our broader professional and business community, and look forward to following more of your stuff on LinkedIn as well. I've included all the relevant links and stuff in the comments on Facebook, and so if anyone wants to reach out directly to Matt with regards to the hashtag free business check, I think it was called.
It's hashtag free business health check.
That's the one. Is link. You corrected me. Got it. I posted your website and also that Virgin analysis that you had on LinkedIn. I posted in the comments on Facebook. So
thanks. Yeah.
Feel free to reach out to Matt with regards to that. But just reiterating the question I have at the final when we close is like, how can someone watching this from my network or network help you at this time? Is there anything else other than the hashtag free business health check?
I think I posted a question up on LinkedIn relatively recently about tips and stuff for working from home. It's very new for me being in this type of environment. And that post had heaps and heaps of comments, people telling us what was going to be helpful to me and them and all that. So I'd highly recommend anyone to go and check that post out on LinkedIn. You'll probably have to go through my profile, or alternatively, if you just go to the search bar of LinkedIn and type in hashtag SV and then it's voidables, VOI, voidables. So if you just type that in, hashtag SV voidables, you'll get all of my posts that I've ever posted, basically, unless LinkedIn generally deletes every 6 months. But if you do that, there'll be a post there about that. And I'd recommend anyone to please leave any other comments about some tips that could help. either me or anybody else that's trying to work from home, especially those who are trying to look after kids at the same time. Like I really feel for anyone who's trying to do that. I think that's extraordinarily hard. So I certainly feel for them, and I've been speaking to quite a few who are doing that, and some days they're really good, and then other days they're wanting to pull their hair out. So I certainly feel for them. So if anyone's got any really good tips there, please leave it, because people will read it, and it might help someone.
So good, mate.
Yeah.
I just put that in the comments, Facebook, so
thanks.
Easier to find. But yeah.
I figured that it's easier to just have the same, at least one of the same hashtags on every single one of my posts, so you could go back and find them.
Very smart.
Because LinkedIn doesn't have a very good searchability process, so it's shocking.
Let's not get down that track. Man, I could go on for ages about it.
Yeah.
As good as they are, but anyway, yeah. Hey, thanks so much, mate. I appreciate that. I'll better let you get back to watching the NFL draft, actually, if you haven't been sneakily looking at it on the second screen.
Nah, I couldn't, because I had it going inside of my SV system, so I'm outside of that. I didn't want to get distracted, but I am looking forward to seeing how the Packers go with their picks. So I know that there's already a lot of uproar about the first round. So I've got quite a few people, friends, and that are smashing me with comments and stuff at the moment on one of my WhatsApps. So I want to get back onto it.
Appreciate it, mate. Enjoy the weekend, and let's catch up again soon.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having me.
No worries, mate. Take care.
Cheers.